What's up, everybody, and welcome to Comm Chatter, the solid steel and sex appeal podcast. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to introduce myself. I am the creator, Nathan Webb. Glad you all are tuning in. A little backstory about myself before we get started. I'm a proud veteran of the United States Army. I served during Operation Enduring Freedom and deployed twice, once for 15 months to Afghanistan, and then a 10-month deployment to Iraq. The 15-month deployment was with what I consider to be the best damn unit in the military, and just so happens to be the backdrop for this podcast, and it's tattooed on my arm, the 173rd Airborne Brigade out of Vicenza, Italy. More specifically, the 2nd of the 503rd Fusion Company. Now, I'm obviously partial when I say the 173rd is the best unit in the military, but give it an old Google search and you will find a list of facts to back the statement up. I unfortunately was only with the unit for one deployment and then came up on orders for the lovely 10th Mountain Division, where I served as part of the personal security detachment for the Command Sergeant Major in the last combat operations deployment in Iraq. But I digress. Enough about me. That's not what this podcast is about. What is it about, you ask? Simple. I'll be reaching out to my fellow soldiers and my command that I served alongside as a 173rd Sky Soldier. We'll be having a conversation where we reminisce about the times in Italy, the deployment if they feel comfortable talking about it, and anything else that comes up. Fair warning, this will not be PG, but I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. I have several people already lined up to talk with, but I have not decided as of yet if this will be a weekly, monthly, or just how often it will drop. Time shall tell, but I hope you all continue to join me for the ride. For the first episode, I have one of my good battle buddies that I'm lucky to be able to call my friend and to have had my back when we were in Afghanistan, Ian Jones. We both came to Italy as green-ass privates, but only one of us, that'd be him, had any clue what we were getting ourselves into. There were many times that I probably wouldn't have made it through the deployment if it weren't for Ian. So it is only right that he's my first guest. So let's get it. So this is the first episode of the podcast, Solid Steel and Sex Appeal. And this is Ian Jones. How you doing, Ian?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. I can't complain.
That's great. It's been a long time since I've seen you, even over a screen.
Yeah. And we both changed a little bit. I got a little bit of hair going on here, and you've got
I got
all
a
that.
lot more hair, and you got a lot less. So I don't know what's going on right now.
So how you been though? I mean, since you got now, you're out right now, right?
I'm out. Yeah, I did two more assignments, or 2 more duty stations after Italy, and then with subsequently 2 more deployments after the 173rd deployment too, and then I got out.
Gotcha. I had one, and then I was unfortunately honorably discharged because I was a single parent. But don't need to get into all that. But well, what made you join the military in the first place?
Do you want the answer that people want to hear, or do you want the one the real one?
Well, give me both. We got time.
Oh, great. So the one that people like to hear, well, I was getting out of high school and 9/11 was pretty fresh, and and it was a good thing to do, and they offer a lot of benefits. That's a real, that's the one everybody wants to hear.
Right.
I grew up in a real shit poor town, and you either get out or you get stuck. That's the real reason.
Understand.
I wasn't getting stuck.
Yeah. And you wanted to be a truck driver, or is that just how it ended up?
No, I did. I went in, and that was a big part of why I went Army. I was looking at all the different branches, and that was the one that offered the job that I wanted, and all the benefits that I wanted.
Gotcha. I just noticed you have the 173rd hat on.
I do. Still rock it every day.
I actually went a little step further. I got a tattoo and obviously the flag behind me, but I don't know how you feel, but personally, I think it's the best unit in the military.
I would agree wholeheartedly. After all the different units that I've been in and seen, 173rd by far it's a family unlike any other.
Right. Yeah. Loads could call me up today and said, "Hey, we need to go to Afghanistan tomorrow. I'm on the first plane out." So
absolutely. It's funny because when we first started talking about this, I gave just a little brief about Loads. I says, that guy, there's few people that I'd follow to the end of the earth, and he's one of them.
Yep.
But don't follow him to the end of a whiskey bottle.
I haven't gotten the opportunity to do that, but I'm not a drinker. I might still do it just because of who it is.
Oh, it's yes. You will not forget the parts you remember. No, I mean, to this day, I tell stories about loads to this day. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, about like when we were going up to Germany and we would go to Graf and do training and whatnot. And I'll never forget Sergeant Friend coming up and yelling at me to get in his 5-ton because we had to go do this mass casualty CASEVAC.
Yeah.
And so I jump up in this 5-ton, and here comes Sergeant Lotes, and he throws that door open. So I actually started the story backwards, but
Okay.
Friend told me to get out of the truck because Lotes told me to get in it.
Okay.
So
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So I get out of the truck. Lotes comes back, tells me to get back and get in the truck. So I get in the truck. Friend tells me get out of the truck. So I'm 2 steps down, and Lotes is within firing distance of a handful of rocks. And I got chased back up into that truck with rocks flying through the air. And the next time Friend came back and told me to get out of the truck, I told him no. And I stayed in that damn driver's seat.
You said that was in Graf when we were training?
That was in Graf. We were that was our first Graf trip. And like I said, it was a CASEVAC thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never forget it.
Were you at the ammo point with me, like at Graf, or were you okay?
No.
So I can't remember. I know there's a few people that was with me at the ammo thing. I couldn't remember if you were one of them or not.
I was at the ammo point, I think our second Graf. I was there with Baltazar and them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my first Graf, I was not. I was back at the main thing.
Gotcha.
And I was at the ammo point for Hohensfels because I drove out to that mount site hauling ammo for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good times. Cold, but it was still a lot of fun.
For sure. Yes. But no, Italy, man, I'll tell you what. I don't know about you, but I'd be on a plane yesterday if I could back to Italy.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just like unlike anywhere else, you know.
Right. And you and me, I mean, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but we came back from deployment, being the entrepreneurs that we are. We started our own little cab business and was taking money from all of the underground cabbies there, to the point that was it you or me that got a death threat?
That was you.
That was me. Okay, see, I couldn't even remember, but legitimate death threat because we were taking so much money from him.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were for sure. And then in between cabin people around doing shopping cart bowling.
Yeah, it was absolutely yes. There's still a video out there.
Is there?
Yeah, there's still. It might be on my Facebook, but if not, I know I have it somewhere on like a hard drive or something.
So, do you remember the night that you and Tony were bowling? And you sent that cart Tony let it go in the underpass.
Yeah.
And I was coming the other way and I was going to murder you guys. Do you remember that night?
Yes. Now that you tell me about that, I do remember. I remember it happening, but I didn't remember the you part. Now yes.
Yeah. The phone call that cart received.
And you knew it was us, right?
Oh yeah, who the hell else would it have been? Oh my God, dude, I really think I needed a new pair of shorts when you fuckers sent that thing.
See, Tessie was supposed to be on this call.
All I saw.
Go ahead.
I know. I said all I saw was that it looked like a U-strike matchbox going all the way across that thing. And this flaming shopping cart crashing into the lane in front of me, and I'm doing like a $110.
Oh, yeah. See, that's gonna be a good story with Tessie on here. So unfortunately, he's not with us right now, but I'll get it out of him too, so you can watch it back and listen to him tell the story, see his side of it. I don't even remember who all was with us.
Yeah. I'd be interested. I don't know. I don't know. And I know my car was empty. That's the only thing I know. I don't know who was in yours, but I know I was pissed.
It's funny, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever got an apology for that one either. I think you laughed then too.
I apologize now. I'm laughing, but I apologize.
Uh-huh. All right. So you took another couple of years off my life, man. That was scarier than the fucking RPGs flying at me. Oh my gosh.
You got any other fond memories of Caserma Edele, or however we said it?
Yeah, well, I mean, gosh, right? You always got a few, and again, that's the hard to forget the things you remember about them. But there was I remember more than one walk home that I vaguely remember. I remember finding Triple D, Donald Dean Dennis.
Oh, Dennis.
I remember finding Dennis half hanging out of his barracks room because somebody bought him a drink, and then he started. And remember, he'd only do shots in twos. I don't know if you remember that. If he ordered a shot, he was ordering two. It didn't matter what it was. Two was going in. Oh man. And that dude, like, the drunker he got, the stronger he became.
Yeah.
I remember him grabbing a hold of Tezzy and I one time. I was on one side of him, Tezzy was on the other, because we were going to help him back to his room. And I remember he grabbed a hold of my shoulder, and I thought he was taking bone with him.
That's crazy.
But I found him passed out, half hanging out his door one night, walking back from the bar on post, and like rolled his ass in this slump and shut the door and called it good, because I didn't want to get in trouble.
Right.
For him passed out in the doorway.
Oh, was he your roommate?
No, but remember how many times they'd always put us in formation and give us shit because somebody did something retarded?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be part of that. I shoved his ass in and shut the door.
I got you.
Yeah. No. Gosh. Yeah.
Those walks home you were talking about, any of them happen to be from Club Blue?
I never walked home from Blue. Remember, I was driving.
Okay.
And so usually every time I'd ever been to Blue, I forgot about Blue until you just brought it up, though. Oh my gosh. But it's funny. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about Blue since Italy.
I gotta admit, besides being a taxi driver, I frequented Blue a lot, but
You did? Yeah.
I know you
a
went
lot of guys did.
What's that? What'd you say?
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I know you.
I just said a lot of guys did.
Oh yeah, definitely. That and the whole SS11 strip, right? I know you went to Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, I tried to stay away from there. Anyway.
You went to Savannah, Georgia after Italy, correct?
I did. Yep. I went down to Savannah. I was stationed at Hunter Army Airfield. I got there, and in an aviation battalion, they don't need truck drivers. But remember, I re-enlisted for it, and so they basically, like, they had to give it to me. And they have a small company, or they have a small platoon of truck drivers, but it's mainly fuelers.
Yeah.
And so I got cross-trained into fueling, and then I got cross-trained again I went down to like a makeshift Pathfinder school.
Okay.
And then they put together what they called the, I don't remember what they called, GCP, the Ground Combat Platoon. And basically the aviation battalion there did not have Pathfinders, and they needed them, so they made them. And they put us together. It was a hodgepodge of truck drivers and mechanics. And they sent us down to Fort Stewart, and they gave us a infantry, like a shortened infantry, 3-week operation tactics. And then we did another couple of weeks of Pathfinder operation and like a Pathfinder school, shortened, condensed. And then we deployed and we did a 12-month deployment doing Pathfinder operations, doing counter IED ops, doing controlled. I mean, I did controlled deaths, carried C4.
Really?
Did B show, body searching, those kind of things. You name it. We did it, man. Went down for 3 separate downed aircraft responses, and yeah.
I was actually supposed to go to Savannah also, but something came down. I got orders to go to Fort Drum to be the Fort Drum to be the Sergeant Major's PSD. That's a whole nother podcast I won't get into, but I wish I would have came to Savannah with you.
Yeah, you should have. So I don't know about Drum, but when I got to Fort Lewis here out in Washington State, that's what I did. I hit the ground and they took one look at my ERB and they and they said, "Boy, do we have a job for you." Supposed to be 6 months, 2.5 years later, in 2 different command groups, I was in that position. Yeah.
If we could have kept the same chain of command and the same group together, I would have just kept re-enlisting for Italy, to be perfectly honest.
So when I got here, actually, I was deployed in Hunter. Supposed to be Hunter at least 3 years is what everybody's like, you get to Hunter and you're stuck, right?
Yeah.
So I thought for sure I'd be there for, at least 3 years. Well, I'm in my deployment. I've only been there maybe 18 months in that unit. And I get this email on my AKO account, and it's from First Sergeant Whiten. And he says, "Hey, you're on my gains roster." And I said, "The hell I am." And I went and looked, and I wasn't on orders. I mean, there was nothing showing. He goes, "You will be, just wait." It was about a month later, and I'm on orders to Fort Lewis, and I'm on First Sergeant Whiten's gain roster.
Really?
Yeah. So he was, when I got here, he was the first sergeant of the HHC for 2nd BSB. And I was going into the personal security detachment and sergeant major's driver, commander's driver.
Yeah.
So I was going into command groups. So rather than going into their alpha company, which would have been their drivers, I went into HHC.
Yep.
So I show up at first formation, and First Sergeant White walks out and goes, "Jonesy." And I said, "From the formation." "Yes, Sergeant." Standing there, right? This is first roll call. "Yes, First Sergeant, get up here." So I come running up, and report. And he says, "You remember that time when we were rolling down, headed to Blessing, and those RPGs were all over your truck?" And I said, "Yes, First Sergeant, I do." And he says, "Just checking. We'll talk more later. Get back to formation." Oh, man.
Since you brought him up, he's another one that I wanted to reach out to and try to do this with, but I'll go ahead and, since you brought him up, do you remember the law incident?
The law?
With First Sergeant? I believe there's a video. He had the law. He just wanted to fire the law. I think we were in the middle of a firefight, and he wanted to fire the law. So he got out. I got to see if I can find the video. You don't remember what I'm talking about?
I'm waiting for you to jog my memory.
I'm pretty sure he almost blew up the truck in front of him, or...
Yes!
Okay.
Yes! It's not right by the gunner's hatch.
Yes.
Yes! Yes, I remember.
Okay. I think there's a video somewhere. I'm going to have to do some searching and find it, but...
Some digging. No. I remember that, though. Do you remember when he got the D12 unstuck? When one of the line companies sent the D12 over into Pakistan with an Afghan driver in it, and we had to go get it?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so we get over there, And there was, let me see if I remember this right. They had buried every big truck they had trying to get it out, and we were going to get everything out. And then we buried a big truck, then we buried a wrecker, but we got the big truck out. But then and by the time we get ourselves unfuckered, he had been in that D12 and he got it out under its own power. He drove it back, and he didn't go around the serpentine and the HESCO barriers. He drove straight in over top of each one of their HESCO barriers in their ECP.
I don't think I was on that mission with you guys, but I do recall the stories about it. So
yes, yeah,
he's one of a kind.
Yes. Or do you remember when my 5-ton, how they kept overloading it in the ammo point because I had that long bed?
Yeah.
And then there was that time when we were right outside of Camp Blessing, and I lost a tire.
You lost a tire?
Yeah, you don't remember that? So we were like, you remember how?
My memory's bad, man. I'm sorry.
Remember how so in Blessing, remember we'd pass the gun field, so there'd be the barrier, the fence line,
right?
And we'd go make the hairpin turn and go up through town.
Yeah.
So we're right there, and it was real, road was really shitty right there. And Green, the gunner, I remember him poking his head down from the hatch, and he says, "Is there something wrong with the truck?" And I'm like, "I don't think so. Why?" And he goes, "Well, the kids are looking at us like we're retarded." Well, it was about that point I realized that we're leaning a little more than we should be. And they had overloaded that truck so much that it sheared the studs off. And so the tire fell off and was laying in the road. By the time the next truck behind me come around the corner and got on the radio, I was already 100 yards ahead of it. And
were we stopped
so
outside the record for like 2 hours?
Oh, longer than that. It was pitch ass black.
Okay, I remember this now as you're telling the story, and was Lotes like going crazy on the radio? Okay, I remember now. Yeah.
So the wrecker picks up the back of my truck, but that long bed, that Hemet wrecker couldn't get the tires off the ground. So even though they picked it up, they couldn't do anything with it. So then they were going to replace the studs, and they scrounge up some studs from Blessing. And they get those replaced, and then they get this tire on. Well, the tire is a FMTV tire, not the old 5-ton tire. So, and it was my spare, but I never checked that to pull out to actually, because who the hell is going to pull that thing out and make sure it's the right one, right? Yeah. So we get it on there. Well, in the meantime, the wrecker blew a hydraulic line, so they couldn't get the truck off the wrecker once they got the tire on. And there's no way in hell we were making that turn into that base with a Hemet wrecker with a 5-ton loaded on it. And so he had me picked up backwards. He had the back of the truck up. So I had to stand on the step. First sergeant was walking next to me. We're under nods now. The wrecker's driving, and I'm standing steering the truck around that hairpin turn. And we got it up to the entry control point, and we couldn't make the turn through the ECP. So we stopped it right outside the gate, and Lotes went over to the guard and said, "You're going to guard this all night." And we went, got chow and rested. And in the morning, the mechanics went down there and did their thing. And yeah.
Well,
oh my gosh.
There is no better person to have happened to than you. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you realize this, but you just had a reputation for, if it needed to get done and you didn't know what the hell to do, Jonesy was the one that could do it. Do you know how you got that reputation?
Please enlighten me.
No, I'm asking if you know how. Do you know how you?
Oh,
because it just seemed like if I needed something, I could always go to Jones. If no one else knew what the fuck to do, I'd go to see you.
So that is a blessing and a curse, my friend, because a lot of people didn't like me because of that. There were a lot of people that were like in that platoon, I mean, I've just always been kind of a more driven person. Like, I'm going to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be fucking, stacking toilet paper on the shelf, and I'm going to be the best at it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get more fucking packets on that shelf than anybody else can. And the downside to that was, there were people in the spec 4 and below group that really didn't much care for me because of that, and I'm like, whatever.
Well, I appreciated it because there were several times I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? And I went to you and you had the problem solver somehow. It didn't matter what it was.
Yeah, I figured it out.
I joined not knowing anything about, like, I could drive, but as far as fixing shit, that's just never been my thing. I was never able to do it. I never even fired guns. I'm pretty good at firing guns, but prior to the military, I never did. So the military really, I didn't know what the hell I was getting myself into. So when I had you to go to, I was like, yes.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, that was one of the hardest things. If I were to look back on my, formative years, if you will, my E2, E3, E4.
Yeah.
That was one of the hardest ones because I knew that I wanted to be that way, and just by nature I am. But it was hard sometimes to be in that platoon knowing that, because it was like I said, and it wasn't, I don't think it was like, I don't hold it against any of those guys. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things where it was like, looking back on it, it can come off like a kind of like the one-upper, the one-upper in the group that drives you nuts.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see that because he's, it didn't matter what it was. If it was I remember I told Sergeant Loads, he actually like got on my case for the shit, but I told him, I said that the biggest, hardest thing to drive is what I always want. I remember telling him that, because we were getting some new, we got the Hemmet cargo truck.
Yeah.
And I got it. And then we got the first LHS or the PLS, and I got it. I told him, the biggest, hardest thing is what I want, but I remember him scolding me one time, and he says, it's great, you can do it, but if none of these other guys can, if you go down, we're screwed.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah. But
were you ever a gunner, or were you a driver strictly the whole time?
I would gun very occasionally. It was pretty rare. I gunned in a Humvee every once in a while. I don't think I ever gunned in a cargo truck. I was pretty much always the driver. I was always cargo. If it, I was FedEx, man. If it needed to be there, I was taking it.
Gotcha.
Same thing with the ammo. You remember, I'd always be the one. Like I actually just ran across that picture the other day. I was carrying 155 howitzer powders. And I'll throw Sergeant Friend under the bus because I know damn well it was his ass that did it. He loaded that truck and he didn't put all those rubber end caps into the middle. So he just put the pallets on.
Yeah.
And we got in a tick, and actually I was in the PLS then, and I can't remember that guy's name, TC and me. I don't remember who it was, but anyway, we're in that spot right before Blessing where we always got hit with the rice paddies on our left side. We're headed to Blessing.
Yeah. And
the whole world opened up on my truck. It was like RPGs were coming, and it was, Lotes and First Sergeant Whiten. If you talk to Whiten, he'll tell you all about it because I know he remembers it because I looked in my mirror and he told his driver to stop. And the wrecker was right behind me. But we come out and it was RPGs. Like I was looking out my driver's side window and I'm watching these things flying at my truck.
Yeah.
And I had one in front of the windshield. I had one that I didn't know had skipped off the top of the cargo. I didn't find that out until I got to Blessing because there was a scorch mark on the tarp. The wrecker told me one went under my truck between the first intermediate and second intermediate, right below the gas tank.
God. And
then a small arms something had went into one of those powder canisters through that rubber cap because it was loaded backwards. And thankfully did not set it off because I had 30,000 pounds of that powder on that truck.
Oh my. Wow.
And yeah, that I have a picture of me. We're in Blessing waiting at the fuel point. And I'm climbed up on the truck and I've got my Gerber, the pliers for the Gerber, shoved into that hole with a shitty grin on my face because I'm still alive.
Yep. Whenever I talk about our deployment and our unit, I always say the reason we didn't have any casualties, like us specifically, Fusion Co., is because we were badass motherfuckers, but also we had a little bit of luck on our side, and that right there.
Yeah.
So
I had a few times in that truck where, I mean, on that particular one, I remember I'd look out because you remember they were shooting those RPGs from across the river there. So it was a good thousand yards they were shooting from.
Right.
And I remember watching these things, the RPGs coming at me, and they'd start out in this little spiral, and then that spiral would get bigger and bigger. And I remember it was like lined up with my door, then it was over the truck, and then it was in front of my windshield, and it'd come around, it was lined up with my door, and I had time to look at it. Like,
yeah,
you're either gonna hit me or you're not, but depends on when it gets here, you know?
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
It was me and Proud. For whatever reason, we were considered the good luck charms because every time we went out the wire, there never seemed to be any contact. Nothing happened. It finally eventually happened. I don't know which one it happened to first. It was her or me, but we were the good luck charms for a few months into the deployment.
Do you remember sitting in the tent? Because remember, you and I, we were pretty close.
Yep.
Do you remember sitting in that tent pissed off because you would get, every time you went, nothing would happen and you couldn't get your cap?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yes. You were furious.
I was. I mean, I wanted a cab, obviously, but I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to see the shit, I guess you want to say. And I thought I was going to go the whole deployment and be the only motherfucker that didn't. But I remember the day that it finally happened, that same spot that you're talking about, actually. We just started fucking raining hell, fucking 5.56 and shit. RPG, literally like probably 3, maybe 5 feet in front of my side of the Humvee. I was driving Sergeant Bell. Blew up. I probably should have been scared shitless, but instead I was like, yes, fuck yes. I was just so fucking excited. And then Sergeant Bell said we had to lead the rest of the 5 tons past the rest of the Humvees and let them continue the contact. I'm like, no, I want to stay here. But it is what it is.
Did you go right at the end of the deployment? Do you remember when the BSB got lit up right at the end?
Yeah.
Did you go on that recovery?
I think so, but I'm not. Again, my memory is shit. I remember little bits and pieces, and then once you start talking, I'm like, yeah. So we had just got back from a regular resupply. And I remember we had got back, I think it maybe just finished showered, you know, and we just kind of settling down into the tents. And then Sergeant Bellinger, right? That was his name? Yeah.
He comes into our tent and he says, we got to go save the BSB motor pool right now.
Okay.
And we all run down to the motor pool. So we are, 12 out, because we didn't turn and burn that day. We didn't stay the night.
Okay.
We're 12 or 13 hours of driving and we just got back. And then here we go out again. And I took my PLS. We had, I think, 1 wrecker with us. That was the night that I almost got demoted. I almost lost my rank that night.
Oh, shit.
Because I stood up chest into chief.
Yep, I remember this. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I don't remember why, but yes, I do.
So we get out there, and I remember we made that stop. I don't remember what fob it was now, the fob before wherever they were. And we made the stop. And then I remember talking to some of the mechanics in the motor pool about where we were going, and they said, "You're not getting that truck down there." And I said, "Like hell, I'm not. This truck's going." And so we get in there, and then we had to turn around in that wadi, in that gravel wadi, right there, right where the come to find out where the BSB was laying their casualties, which was really stupid. But I drive up into this thing, and there was a big boulder in there, and Chief was ground guiding me, and he swung my front end around, and so my back tires passed that big rock, and then he had me turn, and I'm like, so I started to, and I stopped. I told him I can't because it's a big rock. He says it's fine. So now the rock's under my truck, right behind the first intermediate axle, which, remember, those they were steering, right? They're the PLS. So I stop and I tell him no, and then he starts yelling at me and telling me to go. So I said, fuck it. So I did. And when I did, it broke the drag link. So I lost steering to that axle. So now my truck is sitting there broken, and I can't move it. I got no steering.
Yeah.
And I got out of the truck and I chest bumped that dude in kit. and the only reason I didn't earn an Article 15 that day was Sergeant First Class Lotes saw it happen, saw me chest bump him, and then got between us. And I'm pretty sure he had my back later in the CP when because I know for sure Chief wanted my rank that day. He was mad. But I told him, I said, I knew this was going to happen, blah, blah, blah. Well, luckily the wrecker had just done a very similar thing about a month prior. And they had their old one that they broke in their truck. And we took their old one and mine and cobbled together one that would work from good parts between the two and put it back together.
Right there. That was probably your brainchild too.
No, actually that was not. I can't take credit for that. Okay. That was, I don't remember who. That was one of the wrecker crew guys.
Well, it still involved you. So
yes. But we got it back together, and then I remember scraping those burn up Humvees off the ground. They were puddles of aluminum. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Do you remember seeing the trucks? I don't know.
Vaguely. I remember the story that you're telling now, but I vaguely remember the rest of it. So
yeah, frame rails, the metal, the steel that were in the seats, axles was all that was sitting there. Well, what was left of the axle shafts of those Humvees. That's all that was sitting in those piles, and then it was puddles of aluminum on the ground.
Wow.
It was insane. And I remember scraping those things up and putting them on my that flat deck. And then I remember bringing that jingle truck back. The thing was almost twice as long as my flat deck was.
Yeah.
And I almost rolled the truck into that river trying to get it up on the truck.
This was towards pretty much the end of the deployment, right?
Yeah, it was only we only had a couple weeks left. It was like a week or two before when that happened.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that was a long night. The sun was up, and we still weren't heading back to Fenty yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I did 4 trips back and forth between whatever that closest fob was, that one we stopped at, and coming back out and getting another truck. Because the wrecker couldn't do anything. There was nothing to haul. There were these puddles, so they couldn't tow anything. I had to put every bit of it on my flat deck, one at a time, back and forth. They were shuttling me with 3 Humvees and me back and forth, and I'd go and unload it and come back and grab another one.
Yeah. The more you talk about it, I think I remember it happening, but I don't think I was there. I don't know if I was one of the ones that were sent home earlier or not. But I remember what you're talking about, like the chest bump and all of that stuff, but I don't think I was actually there for the mission. So
yeah, I don't remember exactly. Got 15 months, a long time, man.
Yeah.
That was a long deployment.
I loved every second of it for some reason. I guess I'm sick, but Like those 15
Well,
months, I look back on it, I miss it. I really do.
I miss the deploying. For me, like the way that I get through deployments is month to month.
Yeah.
So once you hit 12, you've already done that month.
Yeah.
And then I remember hitting 12 and I'm like, oh, I got 3 more in me. I'm good. I remember hitting 13 and I'm like, all right. And then I remember hitting 14 and it felt like it took as long to get to that 14 as it did to get to the first 12. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I've already done a June.
Probably because we slowed down and weren't going out as much.
Yeah, that probably. Well, no, because we had a couple of big fights in there though. Because we had that one when the BSB got all effed up.
Yeah.
We were stood up for when not, and thank God we didn't have to go. And there was another one we were stood up for that we went, or no, we're not. We were already out.
Were we?
Because we stopped at that.
I wasn't sure if we were or not.
We stopped at that. We were at that little fob that was that little outpost thing that was right before Asadabad.
Yeah.
The one in between.
Yeah.
We stopped there, and that's when we found that's when it first kicked off, and they told us don't move because they made all they every route went black. Because they said if you get into a tick, we can't help you because they had everything and whatnot.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, we were out. I remember sitting there forever. And then if I remember right, I don't think we unloaded our ammo that was supposed to go there right away because they said leave that on the truck. You might be taking that to whatnot.
But then we never went.
And then we never went. Thank God. We would have been a statistic had we gone.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I mean that's not what this podcast is supposed to be about. But have you seen the Netflix shows Restrepo and Korengal?
Yep.
Those are both phenomenal. Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you saw them because they were both.
I did. Yeah. Do you remember having to cart Sebastian Younger and Tim Hetherington around all the time?
I knew I recognized the name Younger.
Yeah. Sebastian Younger and Tim Hetherington. Sebastian was the videographer, or he was the Vanity Fair reporter.
Okay.
And Tim Hetherington was the videographer that was with him a bunch. So okay. Tim ended up getting killed in Libya, I think. A couple of years after that, he was killed. But yeah, Sebastian was like you were the good luck charm. He was the opposite.
Gotcha.
Bad shit happened no matter where that dude was. Because remember, he was in Captain Thing's truck when it got hit with the IED.
Okay.
So in that first scene in Restrepo when they're in Afghanistan, and that when they were in Captain Thing's truck and Brian was driving, that was him in the back seat recording.
Okay. All right. See, I knew I recognized that name, but I never put 2 and 2 together. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody wanted that guy in their truck, man. Bad shit.
Speaking of Schmitty, have you talked to him?
No. I think it's been a year or two. He is the hardest one to get a hold of. I talked to Tony Tezzy.
Yep.
I talked to Spence.
Oh, really? Oh, you guys were pretty close. That's right.
Yeah, we were pretty close. I mean, and off and on, you and I'll send each other messages. It seems like not as much as we should, but we do. And then Lotes, I still every once in a while. I mean, it's been a while now, but him and I every once in a while we'd catch up. First Sergeant Whiten. Yeah, Lopez every once in a while, but yeah.
Same for me. He hits me up randomly every once in a while.
Yeah.
I've reached out to a few and I don't ever get any responses. I talk to House a lot. Bonilla, I talk to him here and there, and Perez. I miss all those guys.
Yeah. Green, I talked to Green.
Yeah.
But remember, he was my gunner. So, yeah, that dude's stinky ass. Yeah. But, yeah. No, I mean, none of the guys there, because like I said, I had those. I do talk to a lot of the guys from my Pathfinder platoon, but I mean, we got this. I know it's not what this is about, but we got to do some cool shit. And, and so some of us got real close doing that,
Tell some stories about that. I'm all right with that.
Well, I mean, shit, man, we did, probably the funnest stuff we got to do was, well, number one, let me start by this stay in this. I didn't drive a single mile my second deployment unless it was running down to the PX in the little grocery getter Humvee we had.
Okay.
We had a Humvee, and literally it was a grocery getter. It's the only reason we had it, so we get to the other side of the base. We were in attached to an aviation battalion, and we worked directly with the Blackhawks, and we had Chinooks and Apaches as well. Pathfinder platoon, our main focus was downed aircraft response. So we had Jaws of Life and all the stuff. And again, and being the best at, always trying to be the best no matter what. A month into that deployment, I started out a team leader. There was 2 squads. There were 2 big squads. And I started out a team leader. And that lasted about a month and a half. And I had a sit down because I had a major problem with my squad leader, who was an E6. I was a corporal. They pinned corporal on me. And I had to sit down with my platoon leader, platoon sergeant, which then led to company commander, first sergeant, which then led to battalion commander and command sergeant major. And then about a week after that, 3rd squad was formed, Corporal Jones, squad leader. Because I had a problem with him, and the reason I had a problem with him is because he was going to get somebody killed, and I wasn't going to be a part of it. But I went to him with a problem and with a solution, which is these squads are too big anyway, and we're cutting ourselves too thin. We really need 3 squads anyway. And I basically laid out, like, in our operations, this is what we need to do. This is what I think we should do. It'd make us more efficient, blah, 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 blah. And it worked. So I got a squad. So then we ended up with 3 squads. We had 3 squads of 7, and then we had a platoon leader who was a captain, and an E7 platoon sergeant. And we did, like I said, primarily downed aircraft recovery, but we also it was either 3 or 4 local villages that we were responsible for. So we did key leader engagements in those villages. And then we were attached to a Afghan National Army reconnaissance platoon, was assigned to us. And we would do a lot of joint op stuff with them. And then we did a whole summer of counter IED operations. And those operations were run as an RC East operation. So every night, our reports of what had happened went to the 2-star in charge of RC East. And we would go out with 2 teams on one squad on each Blackhawk. And then we would go with 2 Apache helicopters or 2 Kiowa Warriors. The Apaches would find somebody putting IEDs in the ground. They would engage if they could. Then they would put our 2 Blackhawks on the ground to continue and ultimately finish up that engagement, and then do a B show and collect any materials from those individuals, and then destroy the IED what was left, and then get back on the Blackhawk. And some nights we would do that 2 or 3 times in a night.
Damn.
And we were near Ghazni for a lot of when we were doing that. We were out of Fob Shank, and then a lot of our stuff was on Route 1 near Ghazni. And that first week, I think we had 12 engagements. And that second week, word had gotten around and we had about 4. And we did it for 3 months. Hundreds of bad guys.
That's wild.
It was insane.
And this was all from you going to Hunter, right?
Yep.
Damn, man, I wish I would have been able to go there.
It was so much. Let me get some light on here for you. It was so much fun, but at the same time, you know, it's weird too, right? Because of what you're doing. Is that light okay?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. It was weird because like we would get back from these, and again, I was a squad leader, and so I would have to do AARs and all that kind of stuff, and we would bring back all of the enemy weapons we collected. We wouldn't bring back loaded magazines. We would include those in the controlled debt, and we wouldn't bring back grenades or electric blasting caps. We would blow all that on site. But we'd bring the AK-47s, we'd bring the PKMs, those kind of things. We would, or the RPG launchers. We would blow the RPG warheads there, but we'd bring the launchers, bring them all back to the FOB. And I'd be sitting down and doing chain of custody stuff and what we're going to do with everything. And then also we'd have to turn over all of the intelligence we gathered to S2. And I'd be filling out all that, and all the guys would be in the team room playing Call of Duty. That was how they would unwind. And, you know, it was a weird thing. I remember sitting down with my squad one time and I said, look, guys, this is what we're doing every night. Normal people would never see or do in their lifetime. Right. And I said, if you need a break, it is okay to say that you need a night off. Like and I also too, like I tried really hard to protect my guys. So it was either me or my 2 team leaders that would do the B show. I'd never let one of my other guys, my other 4 check bodies. We had to do, like, there was some biometrics gathering we had to do to try to identify these people. I would never let them do that. You know, I try to isolate them as much as I could. But yeah, man, it was insane. We would be 2 Blackhawks in, out. I mean, we went in under fire sometimes. They pick us up under fire. I mean, it was nuts.
Sounds like it. Again, yeah. I'm a twisted, I guess. Sounds like a lot of fun. I wish I was involved.
It was so much fun.
Okay, so I'm not that bad then. Do you
no,
want to
it was.
Do you want to know what's not fun? Being deployed for 10 months in Iraq. And the only thing we do, the only reason we're there is every Thursday to drive 2 hours to another FOB so the sergeant major can have DFAC pizza. That was legitimately, I probably shouldn't be putting this out there, but that was legitimately all we did for 10 months. I hated it. I missed the 15 glorious months in Afghanistan with the 173rd. But yeah, it is what it is. So
yeah, like I said, I know that personal security detachment lifestyle, man. I lived that one too. I did a 9-month deployment with that one.
When I first heard about it, I was excited. I thought it was gonna be some cool fucking shit. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah. So when you were in garrison, did you still work directly for Sergeant Major?
Yeah.
Yep. And so you had the desk outside the door, made sure people were dressed appropriately before they went in and they knew what the hell they were doing, and managed the calendar.
Luckily, I didn't have to do that. I was fortunate to not be involved in that part, but I was in the personal detachment, whatever, and it was mostly all infantry guys and mostly all non-deployed people. And there I am with the deployed 173rd patch on and everything. I came there with a red beret on.
Yep, me too.
I didn't want to get rid of it, but I eventually had to. But yeah, there was a lot of. I was involved in a lot of training prior to the deployment that I didn't necessarily need, but everybody else did. So,
yep.
And I think I was the only truck driver that wasn't part of. I believe I was the only truck driver. The rest of our infantry, and we had a medic or 2. So,
yeah,
there might have been a sergeant that was a truck driver also. But.
Yeah, we were. I don't remember how big that platoon was. So in garrison, the personal security detachment would dissolve until we got close to the deployment, and like 4 months before the deployment, it would be reestablished.
Right.
And but I was in the command group. I was part of 3 that were directly, so each command sergeant major, the lieutenant colonel, and the major all had an assigned driver.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, and so I was that assigned driver. So even without the personal security detachment being a thing, I still had a job. But it was basically secretary, because obviously he can drive his own ass to go get his Burger King he wants on lunch. So I managed the calendars for the command group, and then, you know, all the normal just day-to-day stuff, making sure they were where they were supposed to be. Nobody walked through their door before stopping at my desk. And then there was 3 of us, which was really nice because we could kind of split the duties.
Yeah.
But with that group, so my really good friend here, his name is Josh Banks. Met him when I got here. And what's really funny is he is now my brother-in-law. He met my wife on our very first date, and a month later was set up with her sister. And they are not, so now we are obviously married, and him and my wife's sister and their 2 kids.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely not the 173rd here, that's for sure.
Oh, another thing that I got to do on deployment in Iraq with 10th Mountain, I was color guard. Not in garrison. Oh, I was in garrison also, but while deployed, I was color guard.
Yeah. So have you been on my Facebook?
Oh,
I was Command Sergeant Major's driver. So guess who was in charge of that stupid flag?
I was a rifleman. I got to be a rifleman. Thank God.
No, I carried that damn battalion flag everywhere. Every battalion run, guess who got to carry it? Every battalion, everything. I can't complain. It was a good assignment. I think I needed that assignment coming out of that platoon that I was in, I was talking about prior.
Gotcha.
Had stuck me back in a truck driver platoon, I would not have done well, I don't think, because by that point I was a trigger man. You know what I mean? I was infantry to the core.
Gotcha.
I don't know that I would have excelled there. You know, the motor pool mundaneness, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep much longer because it's getting dark, but you want to talk about like what you've been doing since you've gotten out of the military?
Sure. Yeah. So,
how's life as a civilian?
True to the entrepreneur roots, I'm not driving real drunk guys for too much money around Italy anymore. I don't have 2 cell phones anymore where I have to shut the one off or I'll never stop working. But I am a business owner of 2 separate businesses. I'm what they call a professional farrier. So it's a horseshoer. And I do a lot of therapeutic work with the the veterinarians in the area and stuff. And so I do that. Now I only do that 3 days a week. I was 5 days for a long time. I separated in 2013. And up until last year, I was 5 days a week full there. And then I started a separate company after I went to Montana and learned to build saddles. And so now I'm also a leather worker and a professional saddlesmith. So now I build saddles 2 days a week. I shoot horses 3 days a week. You know, like I said, I got those 2 businesses, and then, you know, like I said, I got my family and all that, and really big into riding horses and training and all that kind of stuff. I compete once a year in a thing called the Extreme Mustang Makeover. Basically, you get a wild horse. You got 100 days from the day you get it, totally feral, to take it to a show and compete. And so I do that. I flip cars. You know, I'm always hustling, man. Like,
yeah.
This car I'm sitting in right here, I've never driven this car a mile. This car is one that I picked up. It's just the price was right. I bought it. I fixed the little shit it needs, and I'm gonna throw it up for sale.
Is that the one that you pulled the motor out of earlier?
No, that buddy of mine, he didn't know he's supposed to check the oil in a Subaru. Apparently, he thought they'd just be good to go. So, so yeah, I had to go yank the motor out of his car. Actually, last weekend I pulled the motor out of the wrecked car that we bought to fix his. And then today we pulled the motor out of his. I'm waiting on parts to show up on Tuesday. And then later this week or this coming weekend, I'll throw the motor back down in his, and the way he'll go. But yeah, like I said, always hustling, man. What about you? What are you doing?
Same thing. I've got a production company. I put out movies. I'm trying to get this YouTube channel going. That's why I'm starting this podcast here. I've got another podcast, just audio right now with my brother. We review movies weekly. So Two Brothers in Review. If you haven't, check that out for me. But yeah, I've got 4 kids. I remarried. Been with her for 9 years. So she's up there probably waiting on me for dinner also. So one last question for you though.
Okay.
Is there, you were a hell of a driver, pathfinder, mechanic, basically, saddle maker, horseshoer. Is there anything that Jones can't do?
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of shit I can't do. I haven't ran into much of it yet.
Fair enough. All right.
I'm certain there's a lot of things that I can't do. And I'll tell you what, if you get a chance to interview my wife, I'm sure she's got a list of shit that I'm maybe not so good at. So, but no, man, like I said, I just try. But yeah, talk to her. She'll give you a lot of things. I'm very certain.
All right, brother. Well, thank you for doing this. I'm glad to consider you my friend and to been with you during the deployment and everything. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, man. It was good sitting down and catching up.
Yeah. We'll have to do it again.
Absolutely.
All right. Later, brother.
Take care.
Well, that is that for my conversation with Ian. I really enjoyed talking with him and reminiscing about old times. And I hope you all enjoyed listening. We will definitely have to do it again because that wasn't even a quarter of the stories that I know he has. There's one thing, however, I want to bring up. I realized when I watched it back that I said something that could have been taken the wrong way. So I want to clear that up right now. I don't need anything with this kind of situation, talking about what we're talking about, to be taken the wrong way. It's a little sensitive. But when I say our company did not have any casualties because we were a group of badass motherfuckers with a little bit of luck on our side, I do not mean take away from any of the other companies in the unit. Every soldier that deployed with us, from able to battle, chosen, everyone is a badass, and I would go right back to war with them tomorrow. Unfortunately, our unit lost 42 brave men and women during that deployment. Each and every one of them should still be with us here today. All 42 were more badass than I will ever be. So please do not take my words as an insult in any way. My comment was only on a micro level. With that being said, I'm going to promote someone else's work. It was mentioned between me and Ian. If you haven't seen Corngal or Restrepo, please do yourself a favor and search for it. Both are great documentaries about the deployment and what soldiers like the Men of Battle Company had to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Further proves my point of it being the best damn unit in the military. Before I go, I do have to shamelessly plug a few things of my own. So if you're watching this video on YouTube and you like this podcast, or even if you didn't, please click that subscribe button, give the video a like, and then tell your friends to come check it out. I have plenty of other content on my channel as well. In addition to my YouTube channel, I also have a podcast on Anchor with my brother Kyle. It's called Two Brothers in a Review. We review movies weekly and occasionally drop bonus episodes. So you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and several other platforms for free. Please show me some support and go check that out for me. I promise you'll get a laugh and you might learn something as well. You can also follow us on Instagram to keep up with any news, special drops we may have, and the movie cover edits that we do. That Instagram is Two Bros in a Review. The podcast is called Two Brothers in a Review. The Instagram is Two Bros in a Review. But yeah, please go check us out. Really, really, really appreciate your support watching my YouTube channel and listening to my podcast. But that's it for my cheap plugs. Thank you again for watching. Thank you so much. And please continue to come back because there's a lot more in store.